गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड्स। आप सबों का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन है। मेरे इस चैनल में हम लोग बात करेंगे इकोनॉमिक्स के बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्नों की श्रृंखला को सॉल्व करेंगे। देखेंगे इस प्रश्न में क्या इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है जिन्हें आप याद रखना चाहिए। प्रश्नों को हल करते समय, आपको सॉल्व करते समय कुछ बातों को ध्यान रखना चाहिए। लेट्स एंजॉय द वीडियो। बने रहिए इस चैनल में, देखते रहिए, सीखते रहिए, आगे बढ़ते रहिए, क्योंकि हर उस चीज़ के लिए रिस्क लो जो आपके सपने सच करने में मदद करे। ऑल द बेस्ट। तो पहला सवाल आपके स्क्रीन पर पहला सवाल है, कैपिटल मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट से पूछा जा रहा है। विच आर दी फॉलोइंग आर कैपिटल मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट। यू नो अबाउट द कैपिटल मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट। कैपिटल मार्केट होता क्या है? एक लंबी अवधि के लिए, ठीक है, जहाँ पर शेयर का, बॉन्ड का क्रय विक्रय होता है। तो इसमें बॉन्ड्स आएगा, शेयर्स आएगा, बस दो ही आएगा, कॉमर्शियल पेपर और सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट। तो ये शॉर्ट टर्म लेंडिंग के लिए होता है और बोरोइंग के लिए होता है। तो यू नो अबाउट दैट, 1 and 2 इज द राइट आंसर। लेट्स सी समथिंग अबाउट डिटेल्स। पूरा अच्छा से समझ लीजिए इसको। देखिए, कैपिटल मार्केट का मतलब है टू फैसिलिटेट एन इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइजेशन, मतलब उसको संस्थागत करना। अरेंजमेंट्स थ्रू द विच मीडियम एंड लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 365 डेज एंड अबव, 365 दिन यानी एक साल से ज़्यादा के लिए, जिसमें हम लोग इसका बोथ डेप्थ एंड इक्विटी और रेज एंड इन्वेस्टेड, आप उठा भी सकते हैं, इन्वेस्ट भी कर सकते हैं। द मेन इंस्ट्रूमेंट ट्रेडेड इन द कैपिटल मार्केट कौन कौन सा है? तो देखिए, कैपिटल मार्केट में कौन कौन से इंस्ट्रूमेंट इस्तेमाल किए जाते हैं। इक्विटी, शेयर, डिवेंचर, बॉन्ड्स, प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। वाइल द मेन इंस्ट्रूमेंट आर ट्रेडेड इन द मनी मार्केट, जबकि मनी मार्केट में आप देखिए शॉर्ट टर्म डेप्थ होता है, जैसे कि ट्रेजरी बिल, ट्रेड बिल, कमर्शियल पेपर, सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट। ये शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए, एक साल से कम अवधि के लिए होता है। कैपिटल मार्केट हेल्प्स चैनलाइज सरप्लस फंड्स फ्रॉम ए सेवर्स टू इंस्टीट्यूशन विच देन इन्वेस्ट into the productive use. Generally, this market trades mostly in the long-term securities. Capital market consists of primary markets and secondary markets. इसमें दो मार्केट्स होते हैं, प्राइमरी और सेकेंडरी मार्केट्स। प्राइमरी मार्केट्स डील विथ ट्रेड ऑफ न्यू इशू ऑफ स्टॉक्स, जिसको आईपीओ कहते हैं, अदर सिक्योरिटीज, वेयर सेकेंडरी मार्केट डील्स विद द एक्सचेंज ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग या प्रीवियसली इशूड सिक्योरिटीज, जो पहले से जारी हो चुके हों, जो पहले से मौजूद हो, जिसको इनिशियल कॉल ऑफ पब्लिक ऑफर के छोड़ के अलावा कॉल ऑन ऑफ ऑफर। Another important division in the capital market is made up on the basis of the nature of the security traded, stock market, bond market, आप बोल सकते हैं उसको। With the reference to the real effective exchange rate REER, इसके संबंध में यूपीएससी लास्ट ईयर पूछी थी। REER consider the following statement. It compares a nation's currency value against the weighted average of the currency of its major trading partners. It is an indicator of the international competitiveness of a nation in comparison with its trade partner. A decreasing REER indicates that a company is losing its competitive edge. Which are the correct? You know about that. REER is a real effective exchange rate. Yeah, of course, 2 is absolutely in the answer. 2 बिल्कुल सही है। तो 1 और 2, क्योंकि रियल इफेक्टिव रेट, एक्सचेंज रेट, इज द वेटेड एवरेज of a country's currency in relation to an index or a basket of other major currency. The weights are determined by comparing the relative trade balance of a country's currency against that of each country in this index. An increase in nation's REER is an indication that its exports are becoming more expensive and its imports are becoming cheaper it is loosening its trade competitiveness. Real is determined by taking the average of the bilateral exchange rates between one nation and its trading partners, and then weighting it to take into the account the trade allocation of each partners. Real can be used to measure the equilibrium values of countries' currency, identify the underlying factors of countries' trade flow, analyze the impact that other factors such as competition, technology changes have on a country, and ultimately on the trade weight index. Nation's nominal effective exchange rate (NER) adjusted for inflation in home country equals its effective exchange rate (REE). Consider the following statement: depreciation of currency occur when a country makes a conscious decision to lower its exchange rate in a fixed exchange rate. Devaluation of a currency is when there is a fall in the value of the currency in a floating exchange rate. Currency depreciation makes domestic goods cheaper in the foreign country. Only and only third is right. Depreciation of a currency occurs when there is a fall in the value of the currency in a floating exchange rate. Economic fundamentals like interest rate differential, political instability, risk aversion can the cause the currency depreciation. Currency depreciation makes domestic goods cheaper in the foreign country as more of such goods can now be purchased with the same amount of the foreign currency. So it leads to the increase in export. Currency devaluation is when a country makes a conscious decision to lower its exchange rate in a fixed or semi-fixed rate exchange rate. Therefore, technically, devaluation is only possible if a country is a member of some fixed exchange rate policy. Devaluing a currency reduces the cost of currency export and can help shrink trade deficit. Consider the following statement regarding FDI. FDI allows for funds to be invested into the financial market of the host country. FDI helps in the transfer of skilled resources, new improved technology, research and development, capital strategy and management. FDI does not help in the economic growth or increment in the GDP of the host country. It just adds into the capital in the economy, which are the correct only two. FDI or foreign direct investment refers to the investment done by a company, institution, individual in a company outside outside of their one country. Generally, developing countries which are in need of more funds and utilization of resources try to seek the FDI, the way of investment from foreign companies or individuals. Through FDI, the investor have a good amount of management control on the operation of the business in the host country. The foreign institutional investment FII, on the other hand, refers to the investment made by the investor by infusing capital into the financial asset of any foreign country. FDI versus FII, foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment. Let's see, both being the types of foreign investment. There is, however, a stark differences in the way they are operated, whom they are targeted, and the returns that can be derived from the both. Number one, control of management. FDI being a direct form of investment into the foreign company, the investor are more interested and even get to enjoy a higher control on the management of the company, even if it is in the foreign country. On contrary, FII just allow for funds to be invested into the financial market of the host country and therefore does not have much hold onto the managerial decision, or rather are referred to as just passive investor. It's a passive investor. Regulation on entry and exit criteria. Usually there are more barriers on the entry and exit criteria of the FDI as opposed to the FII, which is pretty lenient in this case. For example, nuclear energy sector does not allow for FDI, allows for transfer of. FDI helps in transfer of a lot of skilled resources, new improved technology, research and development, capital strategy, management, etc. Whereas FII helps in the transfer of funds or capital only into the host country's financial asset or institution. What they result in? FDI for sure result in a long-term capital inflow as it really takes time to settle from the planning and strategy stage to the implementation, the execution phase of the company. On the other hand, for FII, their investment horizon entirely depends upon the current situation in the host country's economy, which when the stable leads to the long-term investment, and when the turbulent, the result in capital pullback by the investor, economic development of the host country. FDI results in the overall economic growth that is a long term by bringing in not only in the capital into the host country but also tax in further on the route of the development through the new technology, infrastructure, investment, increasing new employment opportunity, increasing skilled workforce by proper training, etc. On the other hand, FII just brings in funds, which certainly does not help in economic growth or increment in GDP of the host country as such, but it just aids into the capital in the economy. Consider the following statements. Debenture are backed by the asset of the issuer, whereas bonds are not secured by any of the physical asset or collateral. At the time of the liquidation, the debenture holders are always given preference over the bond holders. You know about that bond and debenture, what is the difference between them and why they are treating different in different behavior. Debenture is short time, let's say not secured in money market, short term investment, something which are the correct. I think you know about that. Both the statement are incorrect. Let's see something about it in detail. Both bonds and debenture. This is bond, this is debenture. Are debt instrument is issued by the government or the companies. Both of these are fundraising tools for the issuer. Bonds are generally issued by the government, the agency of the government or the large corporation, whereas debenture are issued by a public company to raise the money from the market. Bonds are back, backed, backed by the asset of the issuer. Bonds are backed by the asset of the issuer, whereas debentures are not secured by any of the physical asset or collateral. Debentures are issued and purchased only on the credit worthiness and the reputation of the issuing party, the issuing company. The interest rates on bonds is generally lower than debenture. The lower interest rates depicts the low risk factor. That means you can simply say the bond is low risk. On the other hand, debenture gives a high rate of interest, but they are unsecured in nature, hence the risk factor is more clear. At the time of the liquidation, the bond holders are always given preference over debenture holders. Next question, consider the following statements. Vertical FDI is observed when the business undertakes the same activities but in a foreign country. Horizontal FDI occurs when a business undertakes different activities overseas but these activities are related to the main business. Platform FDI means a business expands into the another country but the output from the business is then exported to the third country. Horizontal, there are three type of FDI. That is vertical, this is horizontal, that is platform FDI. You know about everything. Only and only three is the right answer. Types of foreign direct investment. Following are the different types of foreign direct investment. Let's see one by one. Horizontal FDI. Under this type of FDI, a business expand its inland operation to the another country. The business undertakes the same activities but in a foreign country. Suppose a big giant company like A, which is operation in USA, but it also wants to operate some other branch in India. So there is a no differences in their mechanism, in their role, in their activities, in their everything. Okay, there are similarities between them. That is called horizontal. This type of business expand in inland operation to the another country. That means the business undertakes the same activities both in foreign country, but in foreign country. Let's see about vertical FDI. In the case, a business expand into the another country by moving a different level of supply chain. By moving a different level of supply chain. Thus, business undertake different activities overseas, but these activities are related to the main business. Conglomerate FDI. Under the type of FDI, business undertakes unrelated business activities in a foreign country. Unrelated business activities in a foreign country. This type of is uncommon as it involves the difficulty of the penetrating a new country and entirely a new market. Platform FDI. Here, the business expand into the another country, but the output from the business is then exported to a third country. Next question about participatory notes. Participatory notes are offshore derivative instrument used for making investment in the Indian stock markets. Any entity investing through participatory notes is required to get registered with SEBI. SEBI, not at all. Only and only A is right. Participatory notes, also called P notes या फिर offshore derivative instrument with Indian shares as an underlying asset. These instruments are used for making investment in a stock market. They are used outside India for making investment in share listed in Indian stock market. They are used outside India for making investment in share listed in the Indian stock market. That's why they are called offshore derivative instrument. Participatory notes are issued by the broker and the FIIs registered with SEBI. The investment is made on the behalf of these foreign investors by already registered broker in India. Advantage of participatory note: ano- anonymity. Any entity investing in the participatory note is not required to register with the SEBI, whereas the all FII have to compulsory get registered. It enables a large hedge funds to carry out their operation without disclosing their identity. Ease of trading. Trading through the participatory notes is a easy because they are like contract notes, transferable by the endorsement and the delivery. Tax saving, some of the entities route their investment through participatory notes to take advantage of the tax law of a certain preferred country's disadvantage. Because of the anonymous nature of the instrument, the investor could be beyond the reach of the Indian regulator. P notes are being used in money laundering with the wealthy Indians, like the promoters of the companies, using it to bring back unaccounted funds and to manipulate their stock prices. With the reference to the stock market, consider the following statement regarding the term beta. Beta. So beta measures the responsiveness of a stock price to change in the overall stock market. If the beta value is more than 1, it means that the stock is more volatile than the market. Okay, I think you know about that. See the both the statement correct. Beta is a numeric value that measures the fluctuation of a stock to changes in the overall stock market. Beta measures the responsiveness of the stock prices to change in overall stock market. On comparison to the benchmark index, for example, NSE Nifty, to a particular stock returns, a pattern develops that shows that the stock openness the market risk. This helps the investors to decide whether he wants to go for the riskier stock that is highly correlated with the market beta above 1 or with less volatile beta below 1. Higher the beta, higher the risk quotient of the stock. If the beta value is more than 1, it means that the stock is more volatile than the market. A volatile market, then the more volatile than the market. A lot of investors with the knowledge of this measure use it to make their investment decision. A lot of investors with knowledge of this measure use it to make their investment decision. Of course, which of the following are the indicators of bull market? High unemployment rate, rise in stock prices, fall in GDP of the country. Only and only two is the right answer. A bull market is a period of time in financial market when the price of one asset or security rises continuously. The commonly accepted definition of a bull market is when the stock prices rises by 20% after the two declines of the 20% each. The three key indicators of a bull market are as follows. GDP of a country increases. If the GDP of a country is higher than that the previous term, that means the consumer spending is also high and is a common indicator of the flourishing economy. Rise in the stock price. When the price of the stock rises, more people are confident that the market will continue to go up in the future, and most major indices will also rise accordingly. Employment rate in a country increases. Growth in the economic means the growth in the business, which means turn means growth in the workforce. More people will have employment in the bull market. A bull market usually presents a multiple of profits making opportunity to investor because stock prices generally rise across the board. With a reference to the corporate social responsibility (CSR), consider the following: CSR is the integration of socially beneficial programs and practices into the corporation business model and culture. The concept of CSR in India is governed by the Companies Act 2013. Companies are required to spend in financial year every financial year at least 3% of their average net profits generated during the 5 immediately preceding financial year into the CSR activities. 1 and 2 is absolutely correct. Corporate social responsibility (CSR) is a self-regulating business model that helps a company to be socially accountable to itself its stakeholders to the public by practicing corporate social responsibility, also called corporate citizenship. Companies can be conscious of the kind of impact they are having on all the aspects of society, including economic, social, environmental. In India, the concept of CSR is governed by the Clause 135 of the Companies Act 2013. India is the first country in the world to mandate CSR spending along with framework to identify the potential CSR activities. The Act mandates that every company which CSR criteria is applicable shall constitute a corporate social responsibility of the board. CSR provision with the Act is applicable to companies with an annual turnover of 1,000 crore and more, net worth 500 crore or more, net profit 5 crore or more. Act requires companies to spend at least 2% of the average net profits of the company made during the three immediately preceding financial years. In a case of companies fail to comply with the provisions relating to the CSR spending, transferring and utilizing the unspent amount, the company will be punishable with a minimum fine of 50,000, which may increases to 25 lakh. Further, every officer of such company who defaults in the compliance will be liable for a punishment, which is imprisonment for a term which may extend it to 3 years, or with a minimum fine of 50,000, which may increase up to 5 lakh, or with both. Which of the following activities qualifies as a corporate social responsibility activity as per the Companies Act 2013? Planting trees in company campus, jobs for the people with disabilities, contribution to the Prime Minister National Relief Fund, contribution to the Swachh Bharat course, contribution to the political party. Not at all, not at all. तीन और चार ही सही है केवल. The indicative activities which can be undertaken by a company under CSR have been certified under the Schedule 6 of the Companies Act 2013. These activities include eradicating hunger, poverty, malnutrition, promoting health care, including preventive health and care and sanitation, including contribution to the Swachh Bharat course set up by the central government for the promotion of sanitation and for making available safe drinking water, promotion of education, gender equality, empowering women, combating human immunodeficiency virus, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and other diseases, ensuring environmental sustainability, contribution to the Prime Minister National Relief Fund or any other fund that is set up by the central government for socio-economic developments, and the relief and the funds for the welfare of the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minorities and women, etc. CSR are the programs activities not to be considered as CSR activities if the activities undertaken in normal courses of business like planting in the tree in a company campus, jobs for the people with disabilities, fuel efficient offices car, activities undertaken outside India. CSR projects or programs are the activities that benefit only employees of the company and their families and shall not be considered as a CSR activities. Contribution of any amount directly or indirectly to any political party under Section 182 of the Act shall not be considered as CSR activity. Activity not covered within the Schedule 7 of the Act 2013. One of the events such as marathon, awards, charitable contribution, advertisements, sponsorship TV programs, etc. would not be qualified as a part of the CSR expenditure. expenses required by the companies for the fulfillment of any act or statute of regulations such as labor laws, land acquisition, etc., would not count as CSR expenditure under the Companies Act. Consider the following statement. A statutory corporation is subject to more government control and regulation than a department undertaking. A statutory corporation cannot borrow funds from the public, whereas a department undertaking can borrow funds from the public. That's both the statement are incorrect. Departmental undertaking can be defined as the most common and established form of the public enterprises of a country, such as an enterprise is financed as well as organized and managed by ruling government of a country itself. Some example departmental undertaking is Indian Railway, Post and Telegraph, All India Radio, Doordarshan. It's a departmental undertaking. While statutory corporation or public enterprises brought into the existence by a special act of the Parliament, the act defines its power, function, rules, regulation, governing its employees, and its relationship with the government departments. The main differences between the department undertaking and the statutory corporation are: as a departmental undertaking does not have a separate legal entity, it cannot be used. As a departmental undertaking does not have a separate legal entity, it cannot be used. On the other hand, the statutory corporation has a separate legal entity. It can be used. It can be sued. Sorry, sued. मतलब इसको sued किया जा सकता है. The funds of a departmental undertaking consist of a budgetary allocation made by the government, but the funds of the statutory corporation consist of a share of capital wholly contributed by the government and the funds borrowed by the corporation from the government or from the public. Departmental undertaking is subject to more government control and regulation than a statutory corporation. Departmental undertaking cannot borrow funds from the public, but a statutory corporation can borrow the funds from the public. A departmental organization is not created by any act, whereas the statutory corporation is created by a special act of the parliament. Yeah. Which of the following are the purpose of establishing public sector units in India? Development of socio-economic infrastructure, achievements of a balanced regional development, attainment to the planned resources allocation, all are rights. Absolutely general statement. A government-owned enterprises in India is called public sector undertaking (PSU) or a public sector enterprises (PSE). These companies are wholly or partly owned by the government of India or one of the many state or a territorial government or both together in parts. The officer working for these entities and their subsidiaries are gazetted officers. The following points highlight the crucial objective of public sector India. Development of socio-economic infrastructure. The inadequacy, if not complete absence, of socio-economic infrastructure, especially in the basic and heavy industry and the transport and communication facilities, is the proximate cause of economic backwardness of least developed countries, since the development of the infrastructure industries require huge initial investment, involves long gestation period, and yields a very low initial return. Private investor turn away from such investment projects. So it is in the rightness of things for the public sector to develop those industry in the which private sector is unable and unwilling to put the resources required and undertake risk involved. Achievement of balanced regional development. One of the declared objectives of the government of India's industrial policy has been to achieve balanced regional development. So, the government has consistently stressed the need to reduce the regional inequalities by encouraging the location of the public undertaking is economically backward region. Attainment of the planned resources allocation. The public sector enterprises are supposed to enable the planners and the policymakers to achieve better resources allocation consistent with the development strategy of the country. Public sector enterprises will seek to achieve this objective by promoting the development of the small scale and cottage industry so as to create employment opportunity, alleviate poverty by producing mass consumption goods, and improve the balance of trade position through the import substitution and export promotion. Which of the following statements is are correct regarding the disinvestment? Disinvestment increases the fiscal burden on the exchequer. Increases the fiscal burden on the exchequer. The proceed from disinvestment of the central public sector enterprises are channelized into the consolidated fund of India. Disinvestment funds can be utilized for financing large-scale infrastructure development. Yeah, of course, this is general. 2, 3 is general. You know about that. All are say only three. Yes, because the proceed from this investment of central public sector enterprises are channelized into the consolidated fund of India. Not at all. It's a correct statement पूछा हुआ है. Disinvestment means sale or liquidation of asset by the government, usually the central or the state public sector enterprises, projects or other fixed asset. The government undertakes disinvestment to reduce the fiscal burden on the exchequer, reduce the fiscal burden on exchequer, or to raise money from meeting specific needs, such as a bridge the revenue shortfall from other regular sources. In some cases, this investment may be done to privatize asset. Major main objective of this investment in India: number one, reducing the fiscal burden on the exchequer, improving the public finances, encouraging private ownership, funding growth and development programs, maintaining and promoting the competition in the market. There is a separate department under the Ministry of Finance which handles all the disinvestment related works for the government, known as DPAM, and the Department of Investment and the Public Asset Management. Government constituted the National Investment Fund (NIF) in 2005, into which the proceed from disinvestment of the central public sector enterprises are channelized. Consider the following statement: central public sector enterprises which have made profit in the last 2 years continuously have a positive net worth can be granted as a mini Ratna status. Last 2 years, central public sector enterprises having Navratna status and the average annual turnover is more than 25,000 crore during the last 3 years can be granted as a Maharatna status. Just 25,000 crore last 3 years. Annual turnover is just more than 25,000 crore. Which are the correct? Let's say flip the question. Only two is the right. What are the criteria laid down by the government for the grant of Maharatna, Navratna, Mini Ratna status to the central public sector enterprises? Let's see in detail one by one. Criteria for the grant of Maharatna status to the central public sector enterprises are the CPSEs meeting the following criteria to eligible to be considered as a grant of Maharatna. Let's see. Having Navratna status, listed on Indian Stock Exchange with a minimum prescribed public shareholding under SEBI regulation. Minimum prescribed public shareholding under SEBI regulation. Average annual turnover more than 25,000 crore during the last 3 years. Average turnover is more than 25,000 crore during the last 3 years. And average annual net worth more than 15,000 crore during the last 3 years. And average annual net profit After the tax, more than 5,000 crore during the last 3 years. Should have a significant global or presence or international operation. Let's see about the Navratna status. Many Ratna category, first schedule A, CPSEs which have often excellent, very good rating under the Memorandum of Understanding system. The last, the three of last 5 years, and have a composite score of 60 or more or above. The six selected performance parameters, namely net profit to net worth, manpower cost to the total cost of the production services, profit before depreciation, interest and taxes to the capital employed, profit before the interest and taxes to the turnover, earnings per share, inter-sectoral performance, or finally, what are the criteria for the grant of the mini Ratna status? Central public sector enterprises which have made profits in the last 3 years continuously, and have a positive net worth are eligible to be considered as a grant of mini Ratna status. Which of the following are Maharatna Central Public Sector Enterprises? So Bharat Heavy Electronics Limited, Bharat Electronics Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Maharatna. Only one and four. One or four. Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited and Indian Oil Corporation. Maharatna Central Public Sector Enterprises are कौन कौन से महारत्ना है? लेट्स सी. भारत हेवी इलेक्ट्रिकल लिमिटेड, भारत पेट्रोलियम कॉरपोरेशन लिमिटेड बीपीसीएल, बीएचईएल, कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड सीआईएल, गेल इंडिया लिमिटेड, हिंदुस्तान पेट्रोलियम कॉरपोरेशन एचपीसीआई, एचपीसीएल, इंडियन ऑयल कॉरपोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया लिमिटेड आईआईओसीएल, एनटीपीसी लिमिटेड, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited, Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, Steel Authority of India Limited. With the reference to the differences between Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange, let's see what are the statement. The benchmark index for the NSE is Sensex, while for BSE is Nifty. The Sensex index derives its value from 50 of the biggest and the most frequently traded companies. Sensex is 50. Something else. BSE is the oldest financial market in the country, which offers high speed trading to its customer. Which are the correct about BSE and NSE? I think you know about that. First statement is absolutely incorrect, so you can simply say only three is the right. Bombay Stock Exchange (BSE). It is an ancient security exchange of continent, formerly known as the name Native and Share and Stock Broker Association in year 1875. इसका पहले नाम Native Share and Stock Brokers Association in 1875. In 1957, Bombay Stock Exchange was recognized by the central government of India as a primary stock exchange country under the Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. Sensex is introduced as a first equity index in 1986 to provide a base for identifying the top 30 trading companies of the exchange in more than 10 sectors. In the 1995 BSE online trading system Bolt was started. National Stock Exchange (NSE). National Stock Exchange is the youngest stock exchange of the country, which came into the force in 1992. At the times of the establishment, it introduced the advanced electronic trading system for the very first time in the country, which removed the paper-based settlement system. Nifty is the popular index, which was introduced by the National Stock Exchange in 1995 to act as the basis for the measuring the performance of the exchange. It lists up to top 50 companies which traded on the exchange. Consider the following statement: promissory note, debenture, shares, which are the debt market instrument. Debt market instrument. So debenture. So share. How can you say share? It's not at all. Debt market. What do you understand with the debt market? A debt market instrument is a fixed income asset. It's a fixed income asset that allows the lender, the giver, to earn a fixed interest on it beside getting the principal back, while the issuer can use it to raise funds at a cost. Debt act as a legal obligation on the issuer part to repay the borrowed sum up along with the interest to the lender on the timely basis. A debt instrument can be in paper or electronic form. Bonds, debenture, lease, certificates, bill of exchange, promissory note are example of debt instrument. Bond, debenture, lease, certificate, bill of exchange, promissory notes are example of debt instrument. An equity market is a market in which shares of the companies are issued and traded either through the exchange or over the counter market. Share of the companies are issued and traded either through the exchange or over counter markets, also known as the stock market. It is one of the most vital areas of the market economy. With the reference to the stock market, what is meant by the term penny stock? Penny stocks, I just think C is the right answer. That would be, yeah. These are the stocks that traded at a very low price, have a very low market capitalization, are mostly liquidate and are usually listed on a smaller exchange. Penny stock are those that are traded very low price, have a very low market capitalization, are mostly liquid and are usually listed on a smaller exchange. Penny stock in Indian stock market can have a price below 10 rupee. These stocks are very speculative in nature and are considered highly risky because of a lack of liquidity. Because of lack of liquidity, smaller number of shareholders, large bid ask spread, and limited to disclosure of limitation information. The area of the lot of downsides to penny stocks as they are prone to price manipulation, sudden delisting, and regulatory scrutiny. One can move the stock by buying thousands of shares and create a spike without leaving any cue for the average investor to know whether the spike in price is genuine or manipulated. Also, penny stocks are more prone to scam as they are often not regulated by the National Label Stock Exchange. Because of the because of all these high risk stock exchange put these types of stocks in a different category called as a trade to trade basket. In this category, no in trade share trading is allowed. Transactions have to be compulsorily settled on a gross basis, which means you must deliver the share on the same day if you have sold them or take delivery if you have bought them. Consider the following statement regarding balance of payment is a systematic record of all international visible, invisible economic transactions of a country during a given period. Balance of trade deals the export and imports of the goods and services. Current account deficit occurs when the imports are higher than export. Yeah, of course. Cat तो तभी होगा ना जब import is higher than the export. Three is right, one is right. I think you know about that. Only and only one is right. But why? Current account deficit when that import, you know, CAD, current account deficit is capital account, part of capital account. So how can it calculate in the current account? Let's see something detailing about balance of payment. Balance of payment is a systematically record of all international economic transactions. All economic transactions. It may be visible as well as invisible of a country during a given period, usually a year. In other words, the balance of payment statement is a device for recording all of the economic transaction within a given period between the resident of a country and the rest of the world. The analysis of the BOP can be done in the terms of its two major subdivisions. This is current account, this is capital account. The balance of trade, BOT. The board deals only with export and import of merchandise and visible items. Board deals only the export and import of merchandise, that means visible item. It does not deal with the trade in service. The net balance of board will show the monetary value of a different in export and import of a country. Balance of trade of service, BOSS, show the net receipt on a account of trade in service or what is called invisible. Balance of current account is the sum of the aggregate of balance of trade and balance of service. Balance or balance on current account is the net of all current foreign exchange earning of a country during a year and its liabilities in the form of foreign exchange expenditure during the year. The foreign exchange earning come out of the export of merchandise and the receipt arising out of the services rendered by it. Its foreign exchange expenditure is incurred on its import of goods and the payments due the foreigner foreign's payments due to foreigners on account of the services rendered by them. Apparently, like BOT and the BO and BOSS, the current account of the balance of payment may show any of the following three results. Let's see. Current account deficit. These will occur when imports is greater than नहीं बल्कि current account deficit when import is lower than export. Deficit current account deficit when import is lower than export. When export is greater than imports. Current account deficit. Current account surplus when imports are greater than export. Current account balance when imports are apart. Consider the following statement. Consider the following statement. Capital accounts show the change in the ownership of the nation assets. The key component of the capital account is the net transfer income. The common forms of capital account transaction include foreign direct investment (FDI) 1 and 3. D is the right answer. Capital account flows in and out of the capital account represent change in the asset value through the investment, loan, banking balance, real property value. Capital accounts show the change in the ownership of the nation assets. The capital account is less immediate and more invisible than the current account. Foreign direct investment (FDI), portfolio investment, and loans by the government of one country to the government of the another country are key components of capital account. Export and imports are goods and services. Export and imports of goods and services, the investment income, the net transfer income are the key component of the current account. Which of the following factor affect the current account balance of country? Current account balance of country: inflation, national income, exchange rate. Inflation, of course, exchange rate. How national income affect? Everything's included. Current account. A country's current account balance can significantly affect its economy. Therefore, it is important to identify the factors that influence it. The most important factors are inflation. If a country's inflation rate increases relatively to the countries with which it trades, its current account would be expected to decrease. Yeah, of course, due to the higher price at home, consumer and corporation within the country will most likely to purchase more goods overseas due to the high local inflation, while tile countries export to the other countries will be declined. National income. If a country's national income rises by a higher percentage than those of the other countries, its current account is expected to decrease. Current account is expected to decrease. Why so? And other things being equal, as the real income level rises, does the consumption of the goods? A percentage of that increase in consumption will most likely reflect and increase the demand for foreign goods. Government restriction. If a country's government imposes tax on imported goods, often called tariff, the prices of the foreign goods and the consumers effectively increases. An increase in the price of imported goods relatively to the goods produced at home will discourage the imports, and it is expected to be increase the current account balance. In addition to tariffs, a government may reduce its imports by enforcing a quota or a maximum limit on the imports. Exchange rate. Each country's currency is valued in the terms of other currency through the use of exchange rates, so that the currency can be exchanged so that the currency can be exchanged to the facilitate international transaction. The values of the most currency can fluctuate over time because the market and the government forces. If a country's current account balance decreases, other things being equal, goods exported by a country will become more expensive to the importing countries. If a currency strengthens as a consequence, the demand for such goods will decline. तो बने रहिए इस चैनल में, देखते रहिए, सीखते रहिए, आगे बढ़ते रहिए। थैंक यू।